Hey, what's up, guys? It's Ben. This is the second episode of the Movie Expertise Needed podcast. Today, I have a guest. His name is Christian.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about Blade Runner. Both Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, because he's a massive fan. And as you know, if you watch my videos, and if you don't, you're a pleb, but I really like Blade Runner 2049. It's my best film of the year. So... okay, anyways, so some information about the backstory of Blade Runner. It's based off of a book by Philip K. Dick. He's a known science fiction writer. Other notable works of his, there was a huge list, but the ones that actually got turned into television or movies are Scanner Darkly, which is, Alex really likes that because it's rotoscope, and Richard Linklater directed it. Lord knows he loves him so much. And then... Man in the High Castle, which is, I think it's like a Netflix or Amazon series right now. The book is called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and that's the main... I don't know how that relates to the actual... like, because if you watch Blade Runner, like, how does that name coincide with it? I don't understand it. But apparently there was... I read online that one of the things... to say that you're high class is that you have an animal, because a lot of them died off. That's one of the main themes in the book. They do touch on that a little bit in the movie, but they don't really go at it that much. And so now we're going to get into the actual movie, and I'm going to let Christian talk.
All right, so I probably watched Blade Runner for the first time right before I saw Blade Runner 2049, because I remember it was one of the things that, Blade Runner 2049 kind of like revived the series, because Blade Runner came out in 1982. That's a very, very long time ago. And I remember I saw a trailer for it somewhere. I was like, this has got Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling in it. And like, Ryan Gosling's my favorite actor. So then I was like, okay, well, I got to watch this. So then I went and I watched Blade Runner. And at first, it's not that I didn't really understand it, but I thought it had some pacing issues. But I still think it's an amazing movie, one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. And the Blade Runner as a whole, it deals with a whole bunch of, really cool themes, like especially Blade Runner 2049 deals with the way sex is interpreted and like in their culture. I mean, kind of our culture too today, and just kind of like what it actually would mean to be a slave. Like, should replicants be slaves or anything like that? So,
Okay, 1 second. I forgot to mention spoiler review. That's what this is. We're going to spoil the crap out of it. I just want you to know before we actually get into them that no piece of information is safe. I have an entire list, and almost all of them are spoilers. So,
yeah.
Okay, anyways, if you have anything else to add, or...
Oh, I thought this was a cool tidbit. So Philip K. Dick, he died. I don't know the exact day he died. He died around. He died like I think it was after the end of the shooting for Blade Runner. Okay. And Ridley Scott, he showed him the original screenplay, and he loved it. He absolutely loved the movie, and he I guess they had a private little viewing for him, and he loved the movie, but he died, so he never actually got to see the full, like, it actually released theatrically, but like, apparently he saw like the first cut, because there's like 4 different cuts of Blade Runner. There's the one that you can buy today, though. I think it's called the master cut or the final cut or something like that. And then that's the one that's universally seen as the best. But I guess he saw one of them and he really liked it, regardless of which cut it was. But I forget how. I think I get all my movie facts. I don't know if this is reliable or not on IMDb. Like I'll be like, oh, I really like this movie, and I go to the trivia.
Yeah, it's pretty reliable, I'd say.
And that's where I figured that out. And that's where I figured out a lot of stuff about Blade Runner 2049 as well.
The score on there of the movies is not. Don't ever trust that. It's like the most lukewarm place ever. It makes me mad.
Like, if you actually click on who composes it, does it do they lie, or do they just not know who does it?
I think we're talking about different things. I'm talking about the ratings.
Oh, the score. My bad. I thought you meant
the score. Like it'd be equivalent to the tomato meter, the rating. Yeah.
My bad. I thought you were talking about the soundtrack when you said the score.
No.
Because My bad, because Blade Runner, they both have like amazing soundtracks.
Oh yeah, that's you know what? Since we're there, let's talk about that.
Hmm.
Very often do I find a movie that has a score that really complements what the movie is doing and the actions within the movie. And I did think that Blade Runner 2049 did it a little bit better, but both of these movies are fantastic at it. Like, I'm going to quickly... Okay, one of the scenes that I thought it was best encompassed in was the first kill scene, Harrison Ford killing one of the replicants. That first scene.
Oh, he kills the snake woman. Yeah, I know
the
you're
snake
talking
woman.
about.
And, like, there's music, and he's chasing her down the streets, and then he shoots her through the glass, and that music on top of the sound effects was just absolutely fantastic.
I agree. What was I going to say? And also, if you also listen to both the soundtracks, they shift, I would say, not drastically, but the tone in which they sound, they shift heavily between the two movies, because Blade Runner soundtrack, it's got a lot of different themes in it. It's got jazz if you listen to it, then it's like electronic a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's got some different stuff in it. And in 2049, I'd say it's more depressing, because it kind of tells a more depressing story, because Kay gets played like 4 times in that movie. And it's kind of sad, but like it's a lot darker. And I think Hans Zimmer, did the soundtrack for that one. I don't know why they didn't get the one dude from Blade Runner, but he did an excellent job doing the score for that. Yeah,
that was definitely a fantastic score.
He said that it kind of like each scene gets like, it's not just random music that they play.
Okay.
Like, I think Blade Runner 2049, my favorite like entire piece from that movie is probably when Kay is fighting love on the seawall. And I think that entire bit with the soundtrack, I love that scene. It just is, I listen to both the soundtracks at least, like, not all the way through, but I listen to them at least like once a day. Just like certain different songs from them, because I like them that much. They're just really nice to relax to. I mean, other than that, though, yeah, that's pretty much the soundtracks for those movies.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the seawall, because that is to me in Blade Runner 2049. It's like the equivalent of the thing I was talking about earlier when he kills the snake woman.
There's so much symbolism in both of those scenes, too. Especially, I love all the symbolism in the seawall scene, because just the way how like Love wants to be like perfect for Wallace, and because I guess he like calls her like, oh, you are the best angel or something like that.
Yeah. And
she has this weird like fixation with him. Well, I mean, he is her master and all that, I guess. But do you know what I mean when I'm saying that? Like, you can tell throughout the movie she's trying to like appeal to him in like every single way possible, and then she kisses Kay and then says, "I'm the best one," and then she jumps in the water to go try and save Harrison Ford, but then Kay chokes her out. So, or
kill Harrison Ford, right?
Well, I thought, she wanted to take him off world.
Oh yeah, take him off world, kill him. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, they were probably going to torture him and kill him or something like that.
Yeah.
And then also a thing I didn't. Second time I watched that, or it was the third time I watched it. I recognized about that scene. I didn't realize. I don't know if you caught this, but I forget the name. I don't even think she has a name in the movie, unless she says it and I just forgot it. But the one woman who's leading the replicant uprising that doesn't have the left eye, you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe, yeah. No, I know who you're talking about, but I'd have to look.
Oh, she gives Kay Deckard's gun. I don't know the full name of it. It's called, everybody calls it that gun though. Well, she gives him that gun to go, because she wants him to kill Deckard, because she doesn't want Deckard to tell Wallace about the replicant uprising. So she gives him his gun and says, go kill Deckard. I don't know why I missed it the first time around. I completely, like, it fazed me for some reason that she gave him Deckard's gun to go kill Deckard with, which I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool, and I didn't realize that.
Okay, let's get into the first one, because that was our intention, to start with the first one.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay, so when I first watched this movie, I wasn't a huge fan. To be honest, I was in a rush because I was watching it for Film Club. and I just wanted to have some recollection of what was going on so I could talk about it. It didn't really work because I didn't say a thing during the meeting. I watched it a second time, and it was way better than the first time. I sat down and I actually looked at it, and there was a lot more social commentary and symbolism that was incorporated into the movie, and I thought they did it absolutely fantastically.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong there. A lot of always the first thing I think about when I watch the first Blade Runner talk about it is how far ahead the graphics were and the visuals for that movie.
Okay.
Because I'm like I said, I'm watching it right now, and I would still say a lot of the shots in this movie that I think they still kind of hold up today. I mean, obviously not to like 2049's visuals, but you can still sit down and say, wow, that's still a good looking movie. Because you can go watch a lot of movies from like the 80s or the 90s or 70s and be like, wow, that doesn't look very good, given a lot of movies don't age well. But I mean, you can, in my opinion, you can still sit down, you can watch this movie, and you can just get completely taken away by the way it looks.
Yeah, like the beginning of the beginning shot. That's the prime example for me, at least.
Because, the entire city, it just looks all so real. Like I've always said, especially when we watch 2049, that you can it looks so real. It looks like if you lived in that world, if you walked outside, that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
And I really don't know how they make these visuals for these movies. I mean, I know there's a lot of CG incorporated, but it's not too much, because too much CG. I mean, if you take the Star Wars prequels, for example, you can tell 95% of everything is CG.
Yeah.
But if you watch one of these movies,
you can't. Yeah,
you really, really can't.
No, it's Ridley Scott working his magic, man.
I think this is my favorite Ridley Scott movie, probably, and I'm a humongous fan of Alien. I absolutely love Alien. That's definitely my top 5 suspense horror movies of all time. But I just love the world, the world building in this movie, and just how well everything is portrayed, and it's just so rich. The environment, that's probably what I like. That's why I like it more. But very, very good. And then what else could we talk about? Actually, I think I read something else about the way they did some of the visuals is they use miniatures. For a lot of the cities, they recreated full scale replicas of the way it takes place in Los Angeles, right? Make sure I get that. Yeah, it takes place in California. Yeah, they recreated the stuff in the movies on big replicas, and I don't know how they did it, but they went and I guess they scaled down, and they just really Scott, like you said, worked his magic. And
it's movie magic, and that he's one of the best at it. But, one of the things that I noticed the most about the movie is that Harrison Ford character to me is not that strong.
Well, he really isn't, because he gets overpowered at least, I think, 4 or 5 times in this movie. Deckard.
Okay. As a character.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm incompetent. I just woke up. But
That's okay.
Yeah, I know. Are you trying to say? So okay, yeah, he's weak-willed, or he just his
character. The building blocks around his character. Now, it's not bad within the movie. It's exactly who he needed to be. But to me, it was more about his relationship. He did have some character development, but it was more about his relationship with the replicants, aka mostly Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I found is most profound about this movie is Rachel's realization that she's not human.
Mm-hmm.
That she's actually a replicant, and she's scared stiff because she's a replicant and she knows they get hunted, and she's very emotional about it, and her whole life has been a lie. She has all these memories, but they're not actually real, and I like the movie more because of that.
That makes sense. It also kind of plays into the other kind of I don't know if I'd call it a subplot, but the whole fiasco that Deckard is also a replicant, if you believe that or not.
Yeah.
Because she challenges that a lot. When he's giving, I forget the exact name. I think it's called, I forget the exact name of the test. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I can't
But
either.
But when he sits down, he's like, okay, he like says you're a replicant or whatever, and she's like, oh no, I'm not. And he's like, okay, well, I'll give you the test or whatever. And they take the test. I think they're about 40 or 50 questions in, and she says, well, have you taken the test? And he doesn't say anything. And it's just, yeah. He might say like, oh no, I don't need to. But I'm 95% sure he just kind of like looks at her, and just kind of like the scene ends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then because I can see what you mean when you're talking about how that's when his character development starts to happen, because then she clings to him more. She comes to his apartment, and then it really, I guess, it kind of does show like a soft spot he has for her, because he wants to help her and things like that. But I wouldn't even say like, I don't know, I wouldn't even say he's like not like necessarily a cliche detective, but Harrison Ford at that time, he played a lot of those tough guy roles. He just got out of playing Han Solo, so it's kind of like he's just built for those like tough guy, doesn't really talk a lot, but if he does, you better listen, and things like that.
Yeah, well,
that's definitely what Deckard is, as I see it anyways.
Mm-hmm. Building off of that, like he was definitely a very tough guy as character. It wasn't necessarily cliched. I thought they handled it better than that.
Yeah.
But when you misinterpreted me earlier, that's actually a good point to bring up, is the fact that he's not as strong as these replicants.
Mm-hmm.
They can and will kick his butt if he doesn't have a gun.
That's just case in point. After he kills the first one, I'm just gonna call her Snake Lady.
Yeah.
After he kills Snake Lady, he's like in the alleyway or something, and the other replicant, I don't know his name either. I'm just gonna Leon. I was just gonna call him Baldy because he's bald. But Leon comes up behind him, and he starts to gouge his eyes out, and then Rachel saves him.
Yeah.
And then shoots Leon in the head. Yeah, he gets overpowered even more in the movie when one female.
Wait, no, I don't know the other girl, the blonde.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know her name either. But she jumps like on top of him or something, tries to crush his neck with her thighs.
Yeah, and then he kills her.
Right? Yeah, and then he shoots her. Yeah, he shoots her. And then what's his face? The main, Roy. I should know the name. Roy. Okay, Roy. My bad. So I should know that. And then Roy and him, they duke it out. I actually really like that fight scene. I thought that was orchestrated extremely well, especially when they're running around in the apartment building.
Yeah, that was.
I thought that was awesome, because then he keeps like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you, Deckard," and he says all this different stuff. And my favorite shot from around that scene is when Deckard, he's like looking forward, and you see his hand like burst through the wall and then grab his gun, and he like breaks his hand.
Yeah, that was
really cool.
It was really cool. He was basically playing a game of cat and mouse, where he knew all the routes of where Harrison Ford could go, and he was basically just toying with him, knowing that he wasn't going to be able to get away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole point of the scene. And then the end, he lets him go and he kills him. That was powerful. Roy's death scene.
Yeah, Tears in the Rain, when it plays that too. The name of that song, I really like that song. Also, little tidbit too, the song that plays when Roy is dying and he's giving the speech to Deckard, that's the same song that plays when Kay is on the steps dying at the end of 20. Well, I don't know if he's dying.
That's pretty cool. I think he's dead.
Yeah, that's what I lean forward to, but like towards too. But like when I saw it with my sister, she was like, "Well, they made it kind of ambiguous. He could come back." And I'm like, "I don't know. He got shot and stabbed like 3 times, so yeah, I think he's down for the count." But replicants are tough, so you never know.
Yeah, he got smashed by Dave Bautista. And he's still
I love that scene at the beginning of the movie too, when he picks him up and just pummels him against the wall. Because going into that, I tried to avoid all the trailers. I think I watched I think during the Super Bowl, last year, or it was like the year before, they released a trailer for 2049.
Yeah.
And it was like super ambiguous, and like it was only like, I think like a minute or minute and 30 seconds, and it showed Harrison Ford, of course. But I didn't completely know. I did not know at all that K was a replicant. I thought, when I
Oh.
looked on IMDb, my bad, and it showed him casted as Officer K. I thought that was just kind of like a nickname. No, it's just like, oh, he'll probably have a full name in the movie. I didn't expect him to be a replicant at all.
Yeah, that's funny. Harrison Ford actually says that in the movie, because Kay spouts off his barcode or whatever, his code name, and Harrison Ford's like, that's not a name, and so he's like, Joe.
Yeah, he says Joe. Oh man, there's also a lot to talk about that, but we'll talk about Blade Runner first. But yeah, I don't know. The action scenes were pretty good. My only problem I had with Blade Runner when I first watched it, and it's probably the second time now that I'm watching it, even without audio, I don't really have a problem with it. But I thought it had a lot of pacing issues when I first watched it, because I don't know if I guess that could vary from each person. I guess it depends how you like your movies. But I thought the plot was kind of jumbled, because when I first watched it, I was like, okay, so Deckard is this Blade Runner. He's got to hunt down these replicants. But then he hooks up with Rachel, and then it shows him go back to his apartment a lot. And then he just kind of like hangs out there. And then he goes hunting for them again.
Yeah.
And then it shows what the replicants are doing. But when I first watched this going into it, I thought it was just going to be a straight on, like, he was just going to, like, the movie was just going to be about him hunting down the replicants. Like, that was just like from start to finish, he was doing investigative work and things like that.
I agree. That also is one of my major problems. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to follow a plot because of the fact that they do that.
Mm-hmm. But like after a second viewing, though, I can see why that did happen, because it's necessary to build up the world and go off the whole plot with Rachel and Deckard and how he might be a replicant and things like that. Because in the original script, Ridley Scott intended Deckard to be a replicant. That's how it was in the original script.
Okay.
But he thought that audiences might not have liked that in a movie in the 80s, because it kind of would have been like, well, because, replicants are portrayed as the bad guys, because they generally are in this movie. Some people might have been like, oh, Harrison Ford is also a replicant. And I was like, well, I might not like that. So that's why he kind of left it up to viewer interpretation. But it's heavily implied.
But that's basically saying that he meant Deckard to be a replicant.
He all along wanted him to be a replicant.
So it basically answers the question.
Yeah, well, yeah, he is, but it's still left open in that type of way. Like I think he's a replicant. I think there's a ton of evidence about it in this movie, and also there's evidence about it in 2049. But
yeah, there is.
Also liked how, though, in that movie as well, they kept it up. They also kind of left it up to viewer interpretation as well, because they don't outright come out and say it. But I think when Wallace is talking to him, he's like, was your, like, the meeting of you and Rachel supposed to be like a mathematical type of thing, or is it purely just love or something like that? And then Deckard says, well, I know what's real.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Blade Runner. If you have any more thoughts, please share them now. But if not, I'm going to move more towards Blade Runner 2049.
And so Gaff, I think that's the Chinese man that accompanies Deckard in the first one, and then Kay visits him in the second one. The guy who makes all the origamis. What is it?
Yeah, I think
Deckard in Blade Runner, he has that dream about the unicorn. Okay. Replicants are given memories and all that good stuff. And then was it towards the end of the movie, Gaff, he starts leaving unicorn origamis, but it's like, okay, why would he do that if he didn't know about Deckard's dreams? And Deckard doesn't tell him that he's dreaming about unicorns. I don't think he does anyways. So it's like, how else would he know that he's dreaming about unicorns unless he knows about the memories that were put into Deckard's head? So that's one of the things that points towards that.
Yeah, I haven't theorized much about whether or not he is. I'm just kind of like, it's a director screwing with you.
Yeah, if he is, he isn't, and if he is, he is.
Yeah.
It's either way. It's it's really cool. Also, another thing, after I'm watching it right now, we could talk about is it kind of talks about Deckard's ex-wife in the movie because I'm watching it right now and he's looking at pictures of her, and I don't have the audio on, of course, so I can pay attention to the podcast. But in the book, I'm pretty sure it goes more in depth about the wife he had, and he I think she leaves him because she doesn't like it that he hunts down replicants or something like that. I think she sees them as, of course, well, they are slave labor, but I think she sees them as, since they're pretty much grown people, that shouldn't be slaves. I don't think she liked the fact that he hunts them down and kills them. So there's a shot, I think, in Blade Runner. It's either during or right before he kills the snake woman. It cuts to a shot of, let me see if I can find it really quick so I know I'm not going crazy.
Okay.
But it cuts to a shot of this woman like a taxi or something. And see, I'm trying to find it really quick. But that is the same woman that is believed to be his wife, because you see her in the photographs in his apartment.
Okay.
And so I guess it's trying to say that like, oh, she's seen him going and killing replicants or something. That's why she left him.
It was hinting at small, a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. It might not even be her. It might just pan towards a taxi. That's just another little theory that's
actually
there.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, I don't know why I guess I don't know if they just thought people wouldn't want to know about his wife more. That's why they didn't include more of that in the movie itself. But I thought it was really cool. I'm probably going to end up reading the book, because I really like Blade Runner. I'm not a big guy on reading books.
Me neither.
But if it's something like I really really enjoy, though, then I'll read it. And I really like Blade Runner, so I will probably eventually read it.
I was thinking about reading it too.
But
it was probably for runtime is why they didn't add too much in.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too, because I don't think a lot of people back in the 80s like super long movies either. Because I think people saw it as just movies weren't necessarily seen as art back in the day either, kind of as they are now.
Yeah, they're seen as entertainment.
Yeah, and there was a couple, like I'd say Blade Runner was one of the first ones, but like so that's kind of like that mix of trying to be an artsy type of movie, but also solely for entertainment, like we just said. But movies, of course, now, since people, we know movies can be however they want nowadays. People don't mind seeing a movie that's like 2 hours and 30 minutes or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I had to say about Blade
Just
Runner.
Like Blade Runner 2049.
Exactly. Freaking love that movie. Actually, I can never pronounce the director's name of that movie. It's Dennis. I forget if it's Villeneuve. I don't know how you say it.
Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve. Okay.
It's not Dennis. Dennis is 2 N's. Yeah, Villeneuve is his name.
Okay, Denis Villeneuve. I'll just call him Denny. He actually the original runtime for Blade Runner 2049 before they cut anything was 4 hours, and I think I might be getting this wrong. So
that's ginormous.
Well, yeah, I know the 4 hours part is correct, but I might be getting this next little bit wrong, or I might be getting it mixed up. But he said that the first 2 hours are going to be about Kay figuring out that he is the child, not a replicant. And then the last 2 hours are going to be about his relationship with his hologram, Joe or Joy, however you want to pronounce her name.
Yeah,
and that's what the movie was going to be. That's what it was going to be about. And of course, eventually Harrison Ford was going to come into play, and all that different stuff. That was originally going to be the structure for that movie. And I guess 4 hours is really freaking long. I'd watch a 4 hour cut of Blade Runner 2049. I don't know about you. I definitely would, but that would definitely, because Blade Runner. Another interesting thing, I don't know, I keep going off tangents, but both Blade Runner and 2049, they both boxed at the they both bombed at the box office. Yeah, my bad. Both boxed at the box office. They both bombed at the box office when they first came out. Both of them did. I think Blade Runner definitely did. Blade Runner 2049 did so badly, I think a lot of the producers had to chip in money to make up for its failure
Shoot.
box office, which is
I don't know how they're going to make a sequel then. And I guess Ridley Scott and Denis Villeneuve probably have some money.
Well, yeah, Ridley Scott's a rich man, so he could probably fund just about the entire project himself, and it could have Denny probably compensate for some of the stuff. Well, I don't know. Denny, he's made some more independent movies. I think 2049. Well, have you seen Sicario?
No.
I haven't either. Like, I don't know if you consider that a like a bigger movie. I don't know if that's considered
not really. Arrival was.
Rival. Okay. No, okay, yeah, you're right about that. I think that did fairly well at the box office, I think.
So he's probably got some decent money, and he also did Prisoners. That got some attention. So I think
I haven't seen that movie, but
watch that movie.
Is it good?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'll watch that later then. But yeah, so I think Blade Runner 2049 was really his super big project.
Yeah.
So that's bigger than Arrival, so that kind of bombed. I almost said boxed again. But that bombed as well, so yeah, that's another little tidbit about Blade Runner.
Let's talk about 2049.
Trying to think where to start with that movie. First I want to say I think Ryan Gosling did an amazing job in that movie. I loved all the performances in that movie were actually amazing. But Ryan Gosling, he does an incredible job at portraying very emotionally detached people. And kind of not all his roles are like that, obviously. I don't know, like if you've seen La La Land. He's kind of emotionally.
It was my favorite movie last year.
That movie's I love that movie.
Me too.
But he's not necessarily emotionally detached in that movie, but he is kind of separated from everything. And you can kind of just a little bit. Not as much, of course, as Kay, but he's very. Have you seen the other movies? And it's called Lars and the Real Girl.
No, I've seen a little bit of. What was it called? I think it's. What is it? Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh yeah, he's in another really good artsy
Steve
movie.
Carell.
Yeah, that movie I haven't seen it, but I've been told to watch that movie. Apparently, it's really funny. But he's in another movie called Drive. That's another very artsy movie. It's got Bryan Cranston in it.
I've heard of Drive.
I highly recommend that movie. He's very emotionally detached in that movie. And
Stuckman really likes that movie.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, he does.
Chris Stuckman. If you guys don't know him, you should definitely check him out. He's on YouTube.
Oh, that's my go-to movie man whenever I want to know anything about a movie, like if it's even worth watching or not.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, another funny thing, another little connection with Ryan Gosling is so in Lars and the Real Girl. I'm just gonna tell you what, not the full synopsis, but just the general thing of it. He's kind of I don't want to say a weirdo, but he's his character's got some problems, and he falls in love with a sex doll, but not to have sex with it, because he actually built a relationship with it, and then Kay's girlfriend isn't real, and I don't know, that's a kind of funny thing. And I it's really funny when the one prostitute she sees his little hologram, the emitter, and she says, "Oh, you're not into real girls," and it's that's the second role where he's not into real girls. So I thought
that was pretty funny, but
yeah, it's pretty fun. I don't know if they did that intentionally, that line was intentional because he was obviously because of his previous role. But I think that was another thing.
I'm going to talk about that because that's one of my main things that I really, really like about this movie, and I thought they did so well, was his longing for love, even though he's fake, and his relationship with Joy. That's just fantastic. Even though she's meant to be a person that appeases his every will, and I know that, which is kind of heartbreaking for me watching this happen to him, and he knows it, but he's like, this girl is doing so much for me, even though but she's programmed to do it. And then, man, I've never been so heartbroken about a hologram dying.
I know it. I was so sad the way she does it too.
She just steps on the emulator and
destroys it. Man, that made me so mad.
Me too.
As soon as when we first watched that the first time, and I saw the emulator on the ground, I was like, "You better not do it, dude!" I was getting really angry, and I was like, "She's gonna do it." But the whole like way, I think that movie does a tremendous. I like the relationship between Joy and Kay a lot better than Deckard and Rachel.
Yeah, I do.
I think it's got so much more meaning in it, and just how the whole thing where he like deep down, he of course he knows he's a replicant, and he knows what he's supposed to do. He knows he's just supposed to kill other replicants and things like that. But he also deep down he wants to be human. How he thinks he is the child. Joy tells him that because she tells him deep, like she says things to him deep down that he believes. And like he wants to believe, like just his feelings, and she's like, I've always known there was something special about you, or something like that. And then deep down, he wants to be human, and he just wants to be seen as an equal. I think that's also portrayed extremely well when Robin Wright, I forget her, I think they just call her Sergeant, or they call him Matt, or he calls her Madam, but she's like, oh, what's wrong, Kay? After she tells him to go kill the child, he says, well, I've never retired something with a soul before. And she says something along the lines of, oh, it doesn't matter, you soul either, or something like that. Should be easy. Like you shouldn't really care. And that's when he's starting to see that, maybe he can be more if he wants to be.
Yeah. I think her name is Lieutenant Joshi.
They don't say that in the movie. I swear they don't. Josh. No wonder they don't say it.
Josh with an I.
Man,
I don't think that's on IMDb, so I trust it.
Yeah, I believe it. It's just no wonder they didn't say anything in the movie because that would be funny to say, well, Madam Joshi or something like that. But yeah, I feel that her character did what it was meant to do in that movie. But she really wasn't in it that much. She kind of tells Kay. Yeah, she kind of tells Kay, like, okay, you got to go do this, you got to go do that, and then Love kills her. Mm-hmm. And I kind of expected a little bit more, but then again, she kind of served her purpose.
She did.
So I wasn't too mad either, and I kind of didn't like her either. She kind of tried to seduce Kay at that one scene. I don't know if you remember that, like when they were sitting down and they were drinking, and she's like, what's going to happen if I finish the rest of this drink? And then Kay kind of curves her, and he's like, yeah, I better be going. And he gets up and he leaves. And I was like, Kay ain't having none of that. He's already got a girlfriend. I got a woman. Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Joy for a second. Actually, it was about the big purple haired girl at the end, the hologram with her boobs hanging out.
Yeah.
I think that was just supposed to hammer home the point that, like, well, the whole world is fake, but his relationship with anyone isn't real.
It's all just meant to satisfy him and keep him in line as a replicant. Yeah. Yeah, I think that scene really does hit it home, because I think that is the scene where everybody realized. I think you, me, and Cody, when we watched it, that hit us. I think that scene was. I think I looked at him or something. I looked at somebody and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy."
Yeah.
Because then the thing she says, it's just everything she says. She says, "Yo, you look like a hardworking Joe," and then she says it like on the billboard. It says Joe, and it's like everything you want it to be. And then he kind of realizes that, it's just, well, I wanted to be the child deep down. I wanted all this, and then he got what he wanted in kind of a twisted way.
Yeah.
And he's just, super lied to. It's really heartbreaking, but it's just the way it is, I guess.
One thing I haven't touched on yet, like the cinematography with these movies, I thought it was better in Blade Runner 2049 than it was in Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah, I can agree with that for sure.
But it was still pretty good across all the movies. It was just such a well-shot movie. That's part of how they got you wrapped up into that movie. You can just disappear in it partly because of how well it was shot it was.
Oh, yeah. Especially whenever he's like flying around. I think they're called spinners. I think that's the name of the vehicles. I forget, though. Especially whenever he's flying around. And I think it's right after he kills the first replicant. And I was waiting for that shot. I knew it was going to look beautiful. when he's flying around, he's going back to LAPD, and then it cuts off and it shows all the other advertisements and how real it all looks. That entire sequence right there was just well shot because it does such a great job of showing everything and like right there building the entire world of 2049 Los Angeles.
Yeah, I agree.
And just
they
all
are
that.
called spinners.
They're called okay. I was just
the
making
police
sure.
Cars are it's a nickname for the police cars.
Okay.
Spinners. Yeah.
That is what I thought it was called, spinners. And then also, man, I think my favorite set piece out of that entire movie was Neander Wallace's little lair. I thought that place looked awesome.
Yeah,
how
it
had all like the lighting was it was so ambiguous and it was really dark in both the senses. Like it was the lighting was actually dark, but then it was actually dark too because he was trying to build like a slave army, not an army, but a slave force.
Yeah, that entire the entire place to me felt empty. And I think that played into his character of like he doesn't care about anything else except for power. It's all empty and hollow inside, and it's just him.
Exactly.
And I guess love, but that's it.
He wants to build up that replicant force because he even says, I've taken us to 9 new worlds, but we can go even further. We should own the stars. I think that's exactly what he says. And then, it just shows how hungry he is for power. Because I think at that point, I don't know if it's explained in the movie, but I'm pretty sure he is like the dominating like monopoly. He owns the world, not like in like the physical sense. Because it says in the opening crawl that he saves the world from the famine or whatever.
The war and the famine and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and he says he did that, and he bought the rest of Tyrell, and those are the people. That's the dude who made the replicants in Blade Runner, and he pretty much owns the biggest slave force in the world, and then he also saved the world. So it's kind of like that man at that point should probably own pretty much everything.
Yeah,
and that really plays into how he wants so much more. He wants his name like Wallace Corporation over everything there is, on all these new worlds. And everything, and all that stuff. So I wanted to see so much more of his character in that movie. Not he's shown enough, but I was just so intrigued by the way the way he was shown in his actions and motives. I just wanted to I wanted to see more, and I really hope a sequel is made and he's in it. So I think that'd be awesome.
I guess I have a little bit of that.
There is kind of a really like, I don't know, I might be the only person who thinks this, but kind of, I wouldn't say awkward, but it's a really like, I don't know if I want to say unique either, relationship between Deckard and Kay, because the entire time before the one woman tells Kay he's not the child, that leading up to that point, Kay thinks he's Deckard's son.
Yeah, and that is a little bit weird, I think.
And then when they're sitting down at the bar, and then he's kind of like, he doesn't come outright and say, well, I'm your son, but he's like, well, why'd you leave the child? And then he's like trying to play like, oh, why'd you leave me? And I thought that was, I don't know, I guess I thought that was like kind of cool. But then right after that, love kind of sabotages them. And it's just kind of like, he never actually gets to ask him. But then he comes back later, and then he's like, oh, I guess you aren't my dad. He doesn't say that, but I guess he thinks it. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about too really quick.
Hold on one sec.
Oh.
I want to touch on that real quick. You were talking about the plot of you were talking about the original cut of Blade Runner 2049. And, I like the idea of Kay being the son, but honestly, I think that they couldn't, in order to sell his character, they ended it absolutely perfectly. And he sacrificed himself to help his kind. And
I know what you're saying too, because the thing I was going to touch on is extremely similar to that, is when like, I really like how when he's sitting down with the other replicants and then she's like, you have to go kill Deckard. And she hands him that gun. And then she also, right after that, it's either right before or after that, she says, the most human thing you can do is die for a cause. and then he thinks about that line when he's looking at the big hologram.
That's where I got it.
And,
yes.
yeah, and then he realizes, well, I don't have to kill Deckard. I can reunite him with his daughter. And that's the cause that he dies for, and that's what ultimately, in a metaphorical sense, makes him human on the stairs. Yeah. Is that he realizes
nice catch.
Yeah, he realizes that me dying for this will like kind of make me human. And I don't know if he sees it that exact same way, but it's kind of on those steps where, he says, "Oh, go see your daughter." Because when I first watched it, and she said, "Go kill Deckard," I didn't think he was going to go kill him. I still thought he was going to like go set him free. I don't know why I thought that. I just, in my head, I was like, "Oh, he's not going to kill Deckard." I was like, I don't know what this woman's going on about. But yeah, and then also we were talking earlier about the symbolism about the animals in the Blade Runner universe. There's what is it? I thought that was funny you brought that up, because I remember when Kay was going to get the wooden horse checked out, and he was talking to the one like African dude or whatever, and he was speaking in some different he was speaking, I don't know what language he was speaking in, but he was like, "Oh," he's like, "What do you," he's like, "This is real wood." It's like, "I can get you a real horse with it, like if you give me this," or something like that. He's like, "What do you want, an owl or something like that?" And he goes on about all the different animals he could buy him. And
wow.
I don't know. I thought that was funny.
That's good.
Because all of the there's like, apparently there's like no animals or wildlife left on Earth, and I guess there's no wood either, because wood is worth a fortune. I love the way they shot Las Vegas too, where Deckard was hiding out. That I take back my previous statement. That's probably my favorite like, I don't know, set piece, or like just all of Las Vegas, because when Deckard's hiding out at Las Vegas, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
And then I don't like how they all had the orange like haze, and then there was the I don't know, just all like, there's Frank Sinatra playing on the, I think that was Frank Sinatra.
Really cool.
Yeah,
no,
Frank
that
Sinatra
was
playing on the hologram.
Elvis Presley.
Oh no, I'm talking about it's right after that. They have Elvis Presley playing on stage, and Kay goes over to like a little machine. He puts a quarter in.
Oh, Frank Sinatra. Okay,
I think that's Frank. That's Frank Sinatra. But yeah, I really like that fight scene too, where Kay's hiding from Deckard and then Elvis Presley sings, and they stop fighting, and then Deckard's like,
Deckard really just keeps punching him, and he's just like, "You want to keep going, or you want to have a civil conversation, or something like that?"
Yeah, exactly. And when they first shot that scene too, I think I read something where Harrison Ford apparently really did punch him. Like that first punch that Harrison Ford throws at him, like he wasn't holding back. Like he accidentally really did deck him in the face.
Yeah.
And like he said like sorry afterwards, and poured him a glass of scotch, and like walked away.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really funny. That's just something Harrison Ford would do.
Yeah, it was. It was. Well, that's going to be it, guys, for this episode of Men. Movie expertise needed. Yeah.
I didn't know that's why you named the Discord server that.
That's why I did that, yeah.
Well, it was nice talking to you about Blade Runner.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you too. It was nice talking to you too. I'll probably have you back, because I don't have very many friends who can talk about movies for an hour.
Well, I talk about movies forever, dude. I freaking love movies.
Yeah, well, that's going to be it. Please comment what you thought of this podcast, all the things that we talk about Blade Runner and stuff. Talk to me in the comment section, and subscribe. So that's it. See you guys later.
Adios.
B-Dog out.